A blessed Sabbath to you all. I greet you all as we come together on a Sabbath today on the 2nd of October, soon after the Feast of Tabernacles and after the Nehemiah's fast, as we are now going to prepare our messages heading towards the Passover, which is next year in April. That's the beginning of the year. So we're finishing off this year and we are still in the 7th month. The next month is starting next week. Is it on a Thursday? It's going to start after Tishri. We go to the month Sheshvan, which starts on Thursday. So we continue because we are on the 8th month from Thursday. So we have extra months until we go to the 1st month. So if it is the 8th month, we still have the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, and 12th. So the year hasn't even come to an end. We still have 4 months after New Moon next week. So we have 4 full months until then we go for Passover in April. So we are going to sit to study the message from the present truth, which I termed Judgment of the Living. And when we left in Feast of Tabernacles, we left after we studying Revelation chapter 7 together with Ezekiel chapter 9. Why then those two topics are together? We will read in Testimonies to Ministers, page 445, tells us that these two, Revelation chapter 7 and Ezekiel chapter 9, are one incident. That's why we study them together. Read on, let's hear page 445, Testimonies to Ministers. What does it say?
This sealing of the servants of God is the same that was shown to Ezekiel in vision.
Right. So you see, the sealing in Revelation 7 and Ezekiel 9 are one incident. That's why you cannot understand Revelation 7 without studying Ezekiel 9. So it shows that you are not well inspired. If you want to understand Revelation 7, it's got the keys for you to understand Ezekiel 9. So the keys come from Revelation 7. So what keys we saw last week is that these 4 winds, let's go to Revelation chapter 7 in the Bible. These 4 winds have something to do with these 6 angels in Ezekiel chapter 9. Now let's read from Revelation chapter 7, verse 1.
Verse 1. And after these things,
right,
I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth.
So there is 1, 2, 3, 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the world. This is north, south, east, and west. What were they holding?
Holding the 4 winds of the earth.
Right.
That the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree.
So the winds from north, south, east, and west, once they are let loose, they cause destruction. They cause a whirlwind, which will destroy the earth. So they were holding the wind, that the wind should blow into the earth at the same time. And we saw that from them, that incident, Sister White was saying, it was coming from 1844. Right? Let's hear more.
Verse 2. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God.
Right. This angel coming from the east is having a seal. So it's having a message. Because if the seal is a message, so the seal is the one that the angel is holding, or it's a message. Message from where? From the east. This is what we saw. We are recapping only. Let's hear what the angel said.
And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels.
Right. This angel from the east is crying to the 4 angels with the wind of destruction. What is she saying?
To whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea,
right,
saying, hurt not the earth,
right,
neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads.
So it's correct that this wind is to hit the earth, because it's clearly saying, hit not the earth, neither the sea. So it's going to have damage to the earth. This is why when we see the damage being done now, Sister White clearly says what this wind is composed of is pestilence, tornadoes, earthquake. All this damage coming to the earth is what the wind's composed of. We see COVID. It's also coming from these winds. And political strife. This is what is affecting the whole globe. This is what we see is being held by the four winds. Is going to affect the whole earth. But this fifth angel coming from the east is ordering these angels to stop, hold on, until we have sealed the 144,000 on the forehead. Right? But did you hear the term, until we? Do you see this angel is not alone? Why do we know it's got another angel? Why? Because when this seal is seen, it's well after 144,000. I mean, after 1844. Why do I say so? We saw last week why we say it was way after Sister White. Why? Because Sister White was being used by an angel not coming from the east. The angel was, when we saw in Revelation chapter 14, we saw the angel of the third angel wasn't coming from the east. Read from the first angel. Let's hear verse 6 and 7.
Verse 6.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven,
Right?
having the everlasting gospel,
Right.
to preach unto them that dwell on the earth,
Right?
and to every
So
nation.
this angel coming to be the first angel was flying in the midst of heaven. Did you hear? It's not coming from the east. Right? Verse 8 comes the second angel's message. Where is it coming
And
from?
there followed another angel,
It's
saying,
following the one flying in the midst of earth. Right? Revelation 14 verse 9.
verse
The
9,
third angel
and the third angel followed them,
also following the one flying in the midst of air. So we are clear there that this angel, which Sister White was preaching the third angel's message in 1844, was not coming from the east. But why do we say this one is coming from the east and the east is Jerusalem? Why do we say so? Because let's go to the seal. In early writing, page 15, what is the seal which he was saying, hold until we are sealing the 144,000? What is this seal of the 144,000? Go to early writing, page 15. Sister White saw the seal. What is it? Page 15.
the 144,000 were all sealed
All sealed.
and perfectly united.
Right?
On their foreheads was written, God,
1,
New Jerusalem,
2.
and a glorious star containing Jesus' new name.
So there are 3 seals. The first one is God. Which seal comes to God is the Sabbath keeping. That's why you hear most people telling you that the seal is the Sabbath. Why? That's the first seal which Sister White proclaimed with the angel which was flying in the midst. But there is a second seal called New Jerusalem. That's the one coming from the east. That's what this angel is bringing a seal, a message to do with Jerusalem, because the second seal is New Jerusalem. So this one is not in 1844. It was future to Sister White, and the origin of the angel is from the east. But the angel which was using Sister White was hovering in the midst of the air. So that's why we know that the message which came after Sister White, if you say there is no more angel, no more light which came, so can you allow us to proceed with this angel from the east? For we know it was V.T. Hotef who came with the message for the sealing, for the keeping of the feast. And this one was saying we should keep the feast 3 times a year in Jerusalem. That's the one that gives us the seal, New Jerusalem. Let those who don't want to proceed with the second seal, or the fourth angel, which we saw that the fourth angel will come to join Sister White, bringing the seal coming from the east, which is New Jerusalem. And then why this angel is saying we is because there's still another seal, which is the seal Jesus' new name. We saw in early writing, page 15. So these two, one giving the seal New Jerusalem, the other one giving the seal Jesus' new name, which is the branch, are yet future, were yet future to Sister White. So if you are stuck with the third, you only remain with the seal God. You don't have the other two seals. These two seals, you need to have them to stand, as Sister White saw those three together on the 144,000. So you can't join the 144,000 with only one seal. You need the three. Why the people who believed Sister White's message, which we find in Great Controversy, page 637, the graves were open, and those who died, who had believed Sister White, they had got the first message, God. But because of their life, which ended soon, because of age, God made the assurance that if they were alive, they were still going to get the two more messages. That's why God gives them the chance in the special resurrection to be resurrected in Daniel chapter 12. Those are the wise that are resurrected in the special resurrection to join the people who are having three seals. That was the 144,000. That's why they are resurrected. To finish the work together with the 144,000 of bringing now the Gentiles into the kingdom. You see how straightforward it is. Right. Let's hear more now. We have seen that the Revelation chapter 7 and Ezekiel chapter 9 are one and one incident of the sealing program. But the keys that we found them in Revelation chapter 7 to unlock Ezekiel 9. What keys did we find? We found that already these four angels were prophetic messages. The world's prophetic message from the beginning to the end, we saw in Matthew chapter 20. These prophetic messages were 5. Did you see them? 5 prophetic messages. The first prophetic message was those who were called early in the morning. Yeah? The one called early in the morning is Moses. Right? The one called at the third hour is the coming of Christ, the first advent. And then we have the 6th hour call. The ones who are called 6th hour call and the 9th hour, they are connected. That's why there is an end on the chapter 20 to those two. It is William Miller and the last one is Sister White. These are 4 already. These 4 angels are being told by the angel from the east, which is the 5th angel on Revelation 7, telling the angel which used Moses and which used Christ, which used William Miller and which used Sister White. They are being called by this angel to hold, which we said is the 4th angel which came in 1929, which is V.T. whatever. Telling this one that holds. So this one comes later after 1844. So what we see here on the chart, we see 4 angels already there. Which are these? These ones. They have finished. So, but that's the time the angel is coming from the east, which is V.T. whatever. And we still know after V.T. whatever, we have another angel to make them 6. So what do we find then in Ezekiel chapter 9? Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 9. What do we find? Verse 1. Mm-hmm.
Verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
He cried also in mine ears with a loud voice, saying, cause them that have charge over the city to draw near.
Right?
Even.
So they have people, the angels that have charge over the city, over the church, which is getting the judgment first, begins in the house of God. Cause them to come near those who have charge over the city. Right? Mm-hmm.
even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand.
So we find them in Ezekiel chapter 9 with destroying weapons. But the similarity is that these ones in Ezekiel, in Revelation 7, the 4 ones, they have wind. What is this wind? To destroy. But here in Ezekiel 9, we find them with destroying weapons. Are they having the same? Yes, they are. They are all, whatever they are having is to destroy. But this one is to destroy the earth and the sea. But here, these ones have also destroying what? Not the earth, not the seas, but only the house which is being sealed first. The house of God. This way, having destroying weapons. Let's hear. Is it sure that when the seal starts from 1844, it first begins with the house of God? Yes. If it begins, then we have 4 already. Which are these 4? The ones that was being using Moses, the one also using Christ, the one also using William Miller, and then the one using Sister White. They are already, they finished proclaiming the message. Next, what do they pick? The angels pick the sword. Why? They are ready. They are ready now for anyone who did not believe their message. They are ready to destroy. Now let's hear how many men came.
Verse 2.
Verse 2.
And behold, 6 men
6 men
came from the way of the higher
Why
gate.
are they 6? Here we are seeing 4, which already depicted these 4 we have already preached. The one which used Moses and Christ and William Miller and Sister White. There are 4 already here. 1844. But we still have 2 more. For the seal says, it starts with Sister White, we say is God. And next we have New Jerusalem, this angel coming from the east. And whatever, again next, it says, we have sealed. Hold until we have sealed. So we have the one which is going to place Jesus' new name. That's why I say, it's not safe believing what if only, without believing Ben Rotten. Because these angels are 2 more coming from the east. Because it says, hold till we have sealed. Why? There's still 2 more messages to seal the 144,000. Do you understand? Now let's hear more. So it says there are 6 coming from the higher gate. Have you seen the mathematics behind? Right, that's what we are studying today. Yeah, we are studying that one. So let's go to the quotation you are reading from L1 P610. It's just a repetition what we did last week. Yeah, the angel, the spirit of prophet.
The angel that comes from the east.
This one coming from the east.
We understand, started in 1844.
Right?
But he didn't arrive until 1929.
This angel did not arrive until 1929. So what was in 1844? One of these, which was Ellen White, the angel that used Ellen White, is the one that was there in 1844. So this one coming from the east followed, because it's followed with a seal, New Jerusalem. That's why you can't hear those people who organize their church manual to only end with Sister White. They don't have this one. They don't have the seal from the east. They don't have New Jerusalem. They don't have Jesus' new name. It's so strange to them. Why? They confined their message only to stop with Sister White. And when you stop with only the first angel's message, the first seal, which is God, you can proceed to the next. Right, let's hear. Right, so we now know it's 1929. It's proven Vito would have started this message in 1929. That's why he wrote that very big book called Shepherd Road, that people have not read, but they want to conclude how wrong it is before reading it. Right, let's hear.
When he arrived, he simply said to all divinely revealed truth,
Right?
which is contained in the 4 great
So
prophetic
what did
movements.
he say when he arrived? Listen to what he arrived.
Do not destroy
To-
the inhabitants of the earth.
To those the angels who used Moses and who used Christ, who used William Miller, who used Sister White, stop destroying the inhabitants of the earth.
But
But
let me have all your truth, and I will seal the
But
144,000
this angel
Israelites
is
first.
taking all their truth, these prophetic messages from before, from the truth from Moses' time, Christ's time, William Miller's time, Sister White's time. This messenger, V.T. Whatever, compiled the shepherd rules with all these 4 messages. Go and check it. Don't just say things without studying for yourself. This is what this angel from the east said, compiled all these 4 prophetic messages found in Matthew chapter 20. The 5 messages, but now comes as the 5th. Did you see that? Now let's move on. What does he say to them? Do not destroy. Yeah.
The inhabitants of the earth.
Right?
But let me have all your truth, and I will seal the 144,000
So
Israelites
takes
first.
their truth to start the sealing process, to give the seal, New Jerusalem. In any writing, we saw the 3. The first one already we know, we share it with Samaria, the Sabbath. Sabbath is the message, is the seal, which gives us God. But these other 2 more seals, the 2 more seals, the one is New Jerusalem. That's the second seal, which only came by V.T. Hotep to be sealed. That's why we saw when we were studying that they got the name David. Where did they get it from? Because it is starting the restoration from the time David reigned. That's the only time David had 12 tribes of Israel staying together in Canaan. That's the only time. After Solomon, through his son Rehoboam, there were now 2 tribes of Judah, 10 tribes which were dispersed throughout the whole world, which we meet them first in the house of God. 12,000 of each one is going to be sealed, of each tribe. So you don't need to be only a Sabbath keeper. You should be a Sabbath keeper and one of the 12 tribes, descendants of the tribes of Israel. That's what you need to. Yeah. The rest who don't line themselves with the 12 tribes of the descendants are the flood which the devil saw, the dragon took water and flooded the woman to cause the woman to be carried away. But fortunate, the 144,000 descendants from the 12 tribes of Israel in Revelation 7, verse 2 to 4, you'll find that they will not be flooded. They will get the message of the seal and be sealed. We see them standing on the capital city where it was when Christ left in the first city on the early Christian church, and it's the metropolitan city, which is the city that God is talking about, the city of the high God. Now let's read on. It says, stop sealing. Stop destroying, instructing these 4 angels. Don't destroy until we place the seal, New Jerusalem. And it's V.T. Whatever, Brother V.T. Whatever, bringing that seal from the east. So you are not safe only to remain with 2 seals. This is what I say to those who are following the road. You are not safe to remain with only New Jerusalem and God, those 2. But because the seals are 3, God, New Jerusalem, and a glorious star containing Jesus' new name. So for you to avoid the other seal of the Jesus' new name, then you're avoiding the whole seal. You can't be sealed. Now let's hear.
And after these things,
do not destroy the inhabitants of the earth, but let me have your truth, and I will seal the 144,000. Then what does the angel say? After this, listen, in
I
verse
saw 4
7,
angels.
verse 9. After this, then, John says, I saw 4 angels. I saw
4 angels
4 angels.
standing on the 4 corners of the earth.
So in verse 9, it says, I saw these standing on the 4 corners. They were holding 4 winds. Now,
That the wind should not blow on the earth,
right?
nor on the sea, nor on any tree.
Right?
And I saw another angel ascending from the east,
So it's just a repetition of what we have been reading, right?
saying with a loud voice,
Right?
Hate not the earth, neither the sea nor the trees,
Right.
till we have sealed the servants of our God in their
Till we.
foreheads.
So there are still more than one. So there's still another seal after the angel coming from Jerusalem, from the east, right? And
I heard the number of them which were sealed.
how many?
And they were sealed in 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel.
That's why early writing has given us these 144,000 with the 3 seals. So we know they should be sealed by New Jerusalem. So if you find those ones with the first seal or the Sabbath seal telling you that they are ready to hop in the cloud, ask them, where is the other seal, New Jerusalem, and where is the other seal, Jesus' new name? So they should step up to these 2 more seals. To have 3, then you are able to fly to the cloud. Now, right?
When I seal them,
Right?
I
Listen to what this angel says. When I seal them,
I will seal a great multitude of others
I will proceed to Revelation chapter 7, verse 9.
that no man can number.
That we saw. What is the reading from Revelation chapter 7, verse 9 in the Bible? I will proceed. It says, when I finish, I'll proceed. Right?
Verse 9.
To 7, verse 9.
After this I behold,
Right?
and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number,
Right?
of all nations and kindreds and people
Right.
and tongues, stood before the throne
So
and before
these
the
ones
Lamb.
are not Israel. These are nations, tongues, kindreds, and people. But he was so specific when sealing the 144,000 that they are coming from the 12 tribes of Israel. So this angel, after that, proceeds to the Gentile nation to seal them also with the same seal. Did you see that? Right? And let's go back to where you were reading.
When I seal them, I will seal a great multitude of others that no man can number.
Right?
After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number,
Right.
of all nations and kindreds, and people and tongues,
Right.
stood
Go
before
to
the
the
throne.
next paragraph. There's no greater message.
No greater message
Right.
has ever come to this earth
Right.
than came in 1929.
No greater message. Why? Why is it greatest from the angel coming from this east? He's using all these prophecies from the time of Moses to our time. All these prophetic truths. Matthew chapter 20 of the 5 prophetic truths. Yeah? Some were called early in the morning. The next were called at 3rd hour. The next were called at 6th hour. The next were called at 11th hour. So this angel from the east using all these prophetic messages to seal the 144,000. Right? And here, let's hear.
No greater message has ever come to this earth than came in 1929.
Right? Let's hear. Take courage.
Take courage, honest hearts, in the world everywhere.
Right?
Michael has stood up or is in the act of standing up to deliver you.
Right. So where do we see Michael standing up to deliver? Let's go to Daniel chapter 12, verse 1.
Daniel chapter 12,
Right?
verse
So
1.
after the sealing of the 144,000, then Michael, when we see these winds starting to let loose gradually like that, are you seeing this pestilence? Are you seeing these tornadoes, earthquakes everywhere? All over the world is political turmoil, everything. Are you seeing that? So it means even Michael is finishing off the sealing of the 144,000. So when he finishes the 144,000, what does he organize? He organizes these 4 winds now to let loose. But what about these ones? Because here we see, after these 2 have finished proclaiming the 144,000 are sealed, these ones will join. Instead of having 4 there, we'll have 6. All with slaughter weapons. So this is when now we see Michael coming on earth on Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. Let's hear. Because when this church is sealed, before the other Gentiles outside the church have been sealed, the very first incident we are waiting for is the coming of Michael to step on the earth, to start exercising. These 4 winds will be busy. We can hear them hissing now. We can see all these winds being let loose. We can see. But what we should be knowing is that the finalizing of the 144,000 in number from the church which is being sealed first, this finalizing is also having, now we know there is a truth of the New Jerusalem, and we also know there is a truth of the Jesus' new name. Once this is finalized, then we have these 6 angels now ready to slaughter. The 6 angels, like it is when they walked out of Egypt. they were ready to be separated. So the final angel, which is Jesus' new name, will separate the wheat from the tares. Do you understand? And then we see, what do we see? Before this 666 we are talking about, which now exercises so that you don't buy, you don't sell. Before that starts, which is the loud cry now going into the Gentiles, the sealing of the 144,000 ends with Jesus' new name. We now have the 3 seals as it was seen by Sister White on a forehead, now ready on Mount Zion. This is the time Michael stands. Did you hear that from the spiritual? Michael will stand after the sealing of the church, of the house of God, before the sealing is extended to the Gentiles. That's what we call him standing up in Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. Let's hear what happens when he stands.
Verse 1.
Verse 1.
And at that time shall Michael stand up,
Right?
the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble,
Right.
such as never was, since there was a nation even to that same time.
Right?
And at that time
Right?
thy people shall be delivered,
Right.
everyone that shall be found written in the book.
So who is written then at that time? The people who were being sealed. That's why he says to Daniel, who is a commandment keeper and an Israelite, he says, thy people shall be delivered, everyone written in the book of life. When Michael stands, but what precedes is, what follows his standing up, there shall be a time of trouble such as never was. So don't tell me that this time of trouble such as never was will not be done. We will have to first go to heaven before this time of trouble. No. We are not. What are we waiting for, brethren? We are waiting for these 3 seals to be complete on our foreheads. And what next? Then Michael stands so that the seal now, before it goes to the Gentiles, he uses these angels, the 6 who were at the door of the altar in the church, and these 4 who are in the 4 corners of the earth. They start letting their wings loose, and also these ones start exercising their slaughter weapon. Now let's go to see exactly what happens when they go to Ezekiel chapter 9. You saw the 6 angels, right? Now, let's go to verse 4.
Verse 4.
So, what are they commissioned?
And the Lord said unto him,
Right?
Go through the midst of the city,
Right?
through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and
right.
that cry, for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof.
So, that angel we are seeing now is together with the angels setting a sign from the east, and also giving what? The new name of Christ, which is the branch. Of course, this message goes to the house of God. Not in the house of God pulpit. It will be, you will get it somewhere. Because why? Because those who are leading the house of God, we saw them, they are in Samaria. They can't give you, they are not worshiping at the door of the tabernacle of the temple in Jerusalem. They are not keeping either these feasts 3 times a year as commanded by God. So somewhere you will get that information without them. And this will cause you to start keeping those feasts, knowing that this is a seal coming with New Jerusalem on your forehead. So if it is true that you can't find them worshiping 3 times a year, then it's clear. You can't get that message from them. You can't. You will only get it from those worshiping at the door of the temple. These are being instructed. While those who are in Samaria, the 10 tribes, they are sighing, they hear the message. But what are they doing? They are sighing and crying, why this message is correct, but why is it Samaria, Jeroboam? Why are you not preaching this message? This is what is called sighing and crying for abominations. What are the abominations? abomination. Wrong dates. Wrong dates are abomination. If someone, you see when this is a Sabbath and he's not keeping the Sabbath, that's an abomination. And this is the date of the camp meeting, and that person is not keeping the date according to the dates God has designed. That's an abomination. And this is the Lord's Supper. It is taken at night on the 14th day of the first month at evening. This was just saying 4 times a year, go, come, not even at night, but go, it is a lunch. This is an abomination. The 144,000 will be sealed when they're sighing and crying for all these abominations. Read on, let's hear.
And to the others.
Right? So
he
he now
said,
instructs the others with slaughter weapon. We saw them in verse 2 in Ezekiel 9 that there are 6. So the others are now. So who is stealing? The one who is stealing is the 6th one. Did you hear from the scripture? It says, how many are they? Let's go to verse 2 in Ezekiel chapter 9.
Verse 2.
Uh-huh.
And behold, 6 men
Right.
came from the way
So
of the
there are
higher
6,
gate,
isn't it? Right?
which lie toward the
But
north.
one of the 6 has got a writer's ink. So use the maths. You saw in Revelation 7 that these are 4 angels. But Ezekiel 9 is telling you that there are 6 in the church, bringing the message to the church. And we have seen from the 6th, the one from Moses, from the 4 prophetic messages from Moses, from Revelation chapter, from Matthew chapter 20. So we saw these prophetic messages already have been proclaimed. Right? We saw the ones who were called at the early hour call, and then the call of the 3rd hour, the call of the 6th hour, and the call of the 9th hour, which was Sister White. But Ezekiel 9 is telling us that there are 6. So when we know there are 6, then we saw Revelation chapter 7 has got 2 there, bringing the 2 more seals. One seal from New Jerusalem, and the other seal is Jesus' new name. All together, they seal together. Why? Because the seal from Jerusalem is showing only the location where the feasts are kept. And the Jesus' new name is also being blessed to those who are now already keeping the feast. They've got it at the venue, and they are keeping it, and Jesus' new name is there. That's the branch. That's why those now who reach the branch level, Isaiah 4 will tell you that. What does Isaiah 4 tell you? In that day when everyone is eating their own bread. Listen to that.
Verse 1. And in that day,
Right?
7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we'll eat our own bread
We'll eat our own bread.
and wear our own apparel.
Wear our own apparel.
Only let us be called by thy name,
Right.
to take away our reproach.
Right. So in that day when everyone is just eating their own, they are not even taking these 3 seals. What are they in their pulpits? In the same house of God. What are they doing? They are only eating their own bread. You can see the topics that are coming from other pulpits. They are just not to do with the 3 seals. They are not even touching God, New Jerusalem, and the glorious star. They are eating their own bread. But in that same day, what happens on verse 2?
In that day shall the branch of the Lord be beautiful
The
and
branch
glorious.
only. Why? It's the one where Christ is putting the seal, the last seal, Jesus' new name. So the one who now worships, keeping the feasts, God is endorsing the name Jesus' new name. The branch shall be beautiful and what?
And glorious.
And glorious.
And the
what?
fruit of the earth shall
And
be excellent
also
and
have
comely.
the fruits of the message. When the message says keep the feast, they follow the fruit of the earth, which is the message of that time. Did you hear that? Now let's go back to where you were. In Ezekiel chapter 9, you say in Ezekiel chapter 9, there are 6 men coming to the higher gate. But listen to that. Want to see how many are placing the seal? Let's hear. Go in the middle of Jerusalem, verse 4, right?
And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city,
Right.
through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry,
Right.
for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof.
So we have seen what the abominations are, right?
And to the others he said in mine
Listen
hearing,
to the others. So you saw one from the 6 men. How many were blessing? It's only one who was blessing. So we know it was on the last seal. Jesus knew them. But what happened to the others?
he said in mine hearing,
Right?
Go ye after him.
So which ones are these others? 5. You see now there are 5. So it means it was the time when the seal New Jerusalem has already been blessed. But the seal we saw is the last one, the 6th one, the angel which is the 6th one, blessing the last seal, which is Jesus' new name. Did you see that? Right. As we know that information, let's see. Go back to L1P6 point 11. Now, since the sealing.
Now, since the sealing angel of Revelation 7 verse 2 is a message without a sword in his hand.
Hold on there. The seal from Revelation 7 is a what?
Is a message without a sword in his hand.
Do you see that the seal which comes from the east is just a message? There is no sword. There is no wind. What is this one holding in Revelation 7 verse 2? Let's hear. What is it?
7 verse 2. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God.
So it doesn't have a sword. It doesn't have the wind. It's got a seal, which is a message. Right, let's go back to the paragraph. Now, since the sealing angel of Revelation 7 verse 2 is a message without a sword in his hand. Did you hear that? But only a seal, right?
We conclude that he has not come to judge, but to seal us.
This angel is coming just to seal, not to judge, to give the message of the keeping of the feasts. This is VT whatever, right? Let's go back.
With this part of the equation solved,
Right?
we then move to the 9th chapter of Ezekiel.
Right. Let's go in Revelation 7.
In Revelation 7, the known quantity was the sealing angel.
Right. What do we know from Revelation 7? The known quantity is the marking man. We have somebody in Revelation 7 who is the angel from the east, is marking. That one we know. Is making a seal. It's a known quantity. That's what we know. Now, we want to understand Ezekiel chapter 9 then. That's why we have to read them together, right? In Ezekiel 9.
In Ezekiel 9, how do we know this?
Right?
Because in Revelation 7,
Now, go to Ezekiel 9, verse 2.
Ezekiel 9 verse 2. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate,
Right?
which lieth toward the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand. And one man among them was clothed with linen,
Right?
with a writer's inkhorn by his side.
So upon the 6 men, 1 man is marking with the writer's inkhorn. Did you hear that? Right. But how do we know? When we read Revelation chapter 7, there is a seal here on the 5th angel. Right. Let's hear.
In Ezekiel 9,
Right?
the unknown quantity is the marking man, the man in linen.
Right?
How do we know this? Because in Revelation 7, the sealing angel is the 5th angel or message. But in Ezekiel 9, the marking man is not the 5th, but the 6th.
Look at the maths there. When we have Revelation 7, it's got these 4 angels. Did you see that? But the marking man becomes the 5th angel. Right? But in Ezekiel chapter 9, what number is the marking man? The 6th. Instead here, the marking man is the 5th. But in Ezekiel 9, we have 6 angels, but there is 1 out of the 6. The 6th one is marking. Here, we have 4 holding the winds, and the 5th one is marking. But in Ezekiel 9, the 6th one is marking. Did you hear that? Right. let's go. You see,
You see, brethren, what we know to be truth in Revelation 7, we do not have light on in Ezekiel 9.
so you see, we know in the Revelation chapter 7, it's clear that the fifth man is marking. But what about Ezekiel 9? That's why you should read both of them. Did you see that it was in Ezekiel chapter 9 verse 2? It's got information that there is one marking. And also Revelation 7 verse 2 has got information of this fifth angel. That's why Testimonies to Ministers says both of these, Ezekiel 9 and Revelation 7, are talking of the same thing. But how then do we find out? They are two different entities.
They are two different entities. If one should say, they know who the man in linen is, they are telling us that they know something they do not.
So if someone says in Ezekiel 9, I know who it is, without reading Revelation 7, you don't know who it is. What makes you know who it is in Ezekiel 9 is reading Revelation 7. How? We'll see. This will be
hypocrisy of the worst kind.
Let's go to the next paragraph. Now,
that we are settled on the part of the symbolism of Ezekiel 9, that we do not know, let us go to the other end of the problem and begin with the part that we do know.
Let's begin with the part that we do know, right?
When we start to solve the symbol of Ezekiel 9,
right,
we find that if the truth hidden in Revelation 7 becomes the truth that is revealed in Ezekiel 9, for instance, the four angels in Revelation 7 have a hurting weapon in their hands.
This is what we saw.
Ready to hurt.
They are ready to hurt.
We then come to the conclusion that if we find an angel elsewhere in the Bible,
right,
regardless where, with the same characteristics and the same numerical value, he must assuredly be the same.
Right, right.
On the other hand, take an angel in one part of the Bible that has a seal and a numerical value of 5.
Right.
Then, in some other place in the Bible, you should find where it tells of a man doing the same kind of work.
Right.
But his numerical value is 6.
Right.
The logical conclusion is that they are not one and the same because their numerical value is different.
Right. But in Revelation 7,
there are 4 angels
right,
getting ready to hurt.
Right.
The Lord's servant reasoned that if they were going to hurt, they logically must have something with which to hurt.
Right.
Now, truth. If it cannot save them,
right,
it will eventually destroy them.
So what are they holding? If the truth cannot save you,
It destroys.
It becomes a destroyer. So it means the very same messages that are sealing the 144,000, what are they doing to those who are refusing to be sealed? They are being sealed. They are being destroyed. Now, let's go to the next. In Revelation 7, you finished that one. Since the Bible
is the sword of the Spirit,
right,
the angels, therefore, must have it in their hands.
Right.
The truth, a prophetic message.
Right. So, since the Bible is the sword of the Spirit, did you see that? So, what is it? The angels, therefore, must have it in their hands. What do we have? What is this sword that they have? They have the sword, the message, which if you do not accept, that is a sword going to kill you. Right, coming back to Ezekiel 9.
Coming back to Ezekiel 9,
right,
where 5 men with slaughter weapons or something with which to kill. We agree, a slaughter weapon is a sword.
Right.
You say, how does this fit in with Revelation 7 verse 2? When there are only 4 angels with hurting weapons,
right,
or instruments. Whereas in Ezekiel, there are 6 men with destroying instruments.
Right.
Here, the mark of division narrows to a very fine line. Without inspiration, one is likely to run into deep water.
Right.
Not only that, but it is possible he could get into a whirlpool and be taken under.
Right.
So, the safe thing to do,
right,
is put this,
right,
as all other writings, to the test of the law and the testimony.
So we put this these, so do you know these winds that are being held? We say these angels are holding these winds. These are the ones that used Moses, Christ, William Miller, Sister White. Now 2 more coming from there. Now, let us reason. Let's hear about that.
Let us reason in this manner.
Right?
Say the first, sorry.
Right.
Say the first 4 men in Ezekiel 9 have the same thing in their hands,
right,
as in the hands of the first 4 angels in Revelation 7 verse 2.
So say the first 4 angels from the 6
Ezekiel
angels
9.
On Ezekiel 9. 4 of them, we know they go up to Sister White.
Have the same thing in their hands.
If they have the same thing in their hands,
as in the hands of the first 4 angels
as
in Revelation
in the
7 verse
hands
2.
of these 4 winds which are in Ezekiel in Revelation 7 verse 2.
Furthermore,
Right?
we conclude it is possible these instruments of destruction and hurting could represent 4 great prophetic messages or movements. Matthew saw them as calls from early morning to and concluding the 9th hour.
Right. Right. Let's go jump on that the verse we have read it, Matthew chapter 20 verse 1 to 5. Go to each of these prophetic truths.
Each of these prophetic movements
right,
have finished their sealing work.
Right. So, what does the rod say?
The rod was the next prophetic message.
Right. The rod was the next prophetic message.
It is a sealing message in Revelation 7. But in
Right.
Ezekiel 9, it is a message of destruction.
Let's be fair there. That's the mathematical value that we have. Here we clearly said these 4 angels are the 4 first prophetic messages from Matthew chapter 20. Right? The angel which used Moses and Christ and William Miller and Sister White. Then the rod comes as the 5th. Did you see that? So if now we know the rod is coming as a 5th, but in Ezekiel 9, how many angels do we have? 6. Do we see there is still another message after the rod? Which is Jesus' new name. This is what we are trying to prove. Right, let's hear now that. Where you left. Okay. In other words.
Right. In other words, the angel that came from the east to seal 144,000
right,
has finished his work of sealing.
So when you go to Ezekiel 9, this angel which had the seal from the east had already finished. So are we sure that in Ezekiel 9, the angel that we see with letters equal is the last one of Jesus' new name? But let's prove it. Let's prove it from the spirit of prophet.
He has laid down his seal and taken up his slaughter weapon,
so
joining his 4 predecessors.
Finishes the seal, lays the message down, and what does he grab?
The weapon.
The weapon. So they become 5. So that's why even Sister White talks about those who reject this last seal will go under the slaughter of the 5 angels. That's why we come up with 5 angels that are already holding slaughter weapons. Right? Let's hear.
Now that we have solved the heretofore unsolved equation,
right,
and the answer is correct and without a flaw,
right,
we have no trouble in identifying the 6th man.
Right. So have you got any problem identifying which is the 6th one? Now the one that was putting the seal New Jerusalem, we now know we have no problem. We know it was the 5th angel coming on Ezekiel chapter 9. Because Ezekiel chapter 9 is 6, but now we have 5. Which one coming from the east? But let's see which one then is the 6th. Right? But before we see, the 6th should proclaim Zechariah chapter 13, verse 7 to 8. Right?
Verse 7.
It's being told what?
Awake,
Awake,
O sword,
O sword,
against my shepherd.
This one also will be a sword. It's also an angel coming with the sword, the 6th one. But it's being told, awake then,
O sword,
O sword,
against my shepherd.
He has to preach a message against Jeroboam, the king of Samaria. Right? Because king of Samaria is the one changing dates and everything. Awake then, go to my shepherds. Listen to that.
And against the man that is my fellow.
Right. So
Saith
the
the Lord
one
of
that
hosts.
is talking, telling everyone that he is my fellow. So this sixth one is being commanded, go and preach to the fellow of God who says, I'm the church of God. I'm in the church. That fellow, go to him. Right? Right?
Say the Lord of hosts.
Right?
Smite the shepherd.
With the sword of the message, where should it be directed? To the
Smite
shepherd.
the shepherds.
Smite the, we now know the sword is the message. Smite the shepherd, right?
And the sheep shall be scattered.
And also the sheep will be scattered.
And I will turn mine hand upon the little ones.
And then God comes in now to turn up to the little ones.
And it shall come to pass that in all the land,
Right.
saith the Lord,
Right?
two pass therein shall be cut off
Right.
and
So
die.
this is how the sixth one, which is the new name of Christ. God inspires that angel, the sixth one after the fifth, which is Jesus' new name. We saw there three seals, and the third seal, which is the final one. God is directing that angel. Go awake, O sword, against my shepherd. Go to my own people. And against the man who is my fellow. To understand. And what happens? Says the Lord of hosts, smite the shepherd. And the sheep shall be scattered. And I will turn my hand upon the little ones. So what happens? The message has to be directed to the shepherd. Like it was from Moses. It was directed to Pharaoh straight away. And what happens? God turns his mercy to the little one when they are scattered now. Because they know what scatters them is the message. Once they know the truth, they know. So it's like someone who is waiting for a bus which is supposed to go to London, and then you are told, no, it's not going to London, it's going to Manchester. Then they now look for the station which will send them to London. Do you understand? But here, awake, go to the shepherd, smite the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered by the message. That's the sword. The sword is the message. And then what? I will turn my hand upon the little ones. That's how God is going to seal the ones that are in 10 tribes of Samaria, which had been captured by Jeroboam. These are sealed when the message comes straight to the shepherd. Like it was, Moses wasn't sent to Goshen. No, was sent to the one who was capturing the Israelites in Goshen. Go and say, release these people. Release these people to come and keep the feast. Release them to Pharaoh straight away. This is the same thing when the Exodus is about to start. It is ushered in by the fifth angel's message, or by the sixth man angel in Ezekiel 9, or by the seal coming from the east, the second one. So we have two seals coming from the east. Because they say, we, hold on, till we have sealed. Right. Let's hear. And it shall come to pass that, right? Listen to that.
That in the land, saith the Lord,
in verse 8, right?
two pass therein shall be cut off.
So what
and
happens to 10 tribes of Samaria? We know for sure the bulk does not belong to God. The bulk does not belong to God. It will be cut in 3 parts, or 3/3 of 10 tribes of Samaria. And only 1/3 will be taken. 2/3 will be cut off by the slaughter of Ezekiel 9. Read on. And it shall come to pass.
And it shall come to pass
Right.
that in all the land, saith the Lord,
Right.
2 pass therein shall be cut off
Right.
and die. But the third shall be left therein.
Right. Let's hear from the spirit of prophecy. LIP9 space 13. Let's hear in this separation.
In this
So
separation,
it's
according to verse
separating
8,
1/3 off to and 2/3 on its own in Samaria. Yeah.
in this separation, according to verse 8, the people are divided in 3 parts.
Right.
Evidently,
Right.
they are the saints, the hypocrites, and the heathen.
So what is there in the house of God? There are 3 parts. What are these 3 parts? We have what is called saints. That's why God is sealing. If the whole church was composed of saints, there was no problem. There was no need of sealing. Why God is sealing? Because He sees there is a composition of 3 parts. What are these 3 parts? There is what is called saints, and next, hypocrites. Do you know what a hypocrite is? Those who pretend to be God's children when they are not. Those are hypocrites. And then what else do we have? Proper heathens. So there is 3 heathens. There is saints, hypocrites, and heathen. That's what is composed of the world. There are some who have all the Bibles and everything. They preach and they sweat and everything, yet they are hypocrites, right? And they are proper saints. There are people who are proper saints. And there are those who are hidden. They just sing, they pray, they do anything. But when you go and find them outside there, they show exactly they are hypocrites. Yeah. Why? You see how they dress? They dress up as hypocrites. Or they dress up as heathen. And what they eat, exactly the same, no change. What they do, how they speak, no change. Everything, no change. God is just saying these are heathen. But there are those who will come and pretend also to be, they will tell you more about Sister White and tell you more about all the quotations and everything. But go and see them living. They are hypocrites because they don't practice what they preach. Right, this is what is the compost. So in this separation, repeat again. Mm-hmm.
In this separation, according to verse 8,
right,
the people are divided in 3 parts.
Right.
Evidently, they are the saints,
1,
the hypocrites,
2,
and the heathen.
Everywhere you go, these are the 3 parts. That's why I said 3 parts in 3 parts, 1 part will be saved, and 2 parts will be destroyed. Because already they are arranged also in 3 parts. Saints, hypocrites, heathen. Right, let's hear more. The 2 letters.
The 2 letter parts are to be cut off.
Right.
Or separated from the saints.
Right.
And they are to die.
This is Zechariah chapter 13, verse 7 and 8.
Concerning the future of the former third, read verse 9.
Right. With this information, right?
With this information in hand, we should have little difficulty in solving the remainder of the equation.
Right.
In Revelation 7, the swords are in the hands of the 4 angels.
So let's go back to the chapter. In Revelation chapter 7, the swords, where are they?
Are in the hands of the 4 angels.
These 4 angels, not south, east, and west, have got the wind, which are the sword.
While in Ezekiel 9,
right,
the swords are in the hands of the 6 men.
In Ezekiel 9, we have 6 men with the swords. Right? And here, this shows,
we repeat, that the 5th or sealing angel had laid down his seal, and a man had taken it up as a slaughter weapon.
This is what we have seen, that, okay, so it means if one man has the writer's inkhorn, so it means the 5th angel, which was coming from the east, had already finished sealing the people and laid down his seal and taken the sword. Right?
Evidently,
right,
John saw the work under the sealing time,
right,
during which the swords only had. Ezekiel saw in vision beyond the sealing and at the beginning of the judgment of the living.
Right. So what did John see? John saw only the 5th angel coming, the sealing of the people. And Ezekiel, what is Ezekiel seeing? Saw the vision beyond the sealing and at the beginning of the judgment of the living. What is the judgment of the living? At the beginning of when the swords now were going to the people, separating the people, going to those without the seal, killing them. Because that's what we saw. Let's see exactly on from the verse, Ezekiel chapter 9. What happened to these 6? When, go to verse 4.
Verse 4. And the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem,
right,
and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof.
Right, the next one.
Verse 5.
Verse 5.
And to the others he said in mine hearing,
right,
go ye after him through the city and smite.
So
let not your eyes spare.
They had to follow that one and to smite.
Neither have ye pity.
Right?
Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children.
Now we know the ratio of the ones that are going to under the slaughter is 2/3 that we saw in Zechariah. 2/3 are going. Why? They're hypocrites. 2, they're heathens. Only the saints have got the mark on their forehead.
Both maids and little children,
Right.
and women, but come not near upon men whom is the mark,
Right.
and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house.
Right. This is what we saw. If you want evidence whether it is literal, you read for yourself Testimonies for the Church, volume 5, page 211. It tells you straight away. Sister White tells this is a literal slaughter which is coming after we have rejected the 3 seals. Right? Read on. Right.
And to them he said in mine hearing, defile the house and fill the courts
Right.
with the
Come
slain.
back to the paragraph where it's L1 P10.14 there. Evidently.
Evidently, John saw the work under the sealing time, during which the swords only hurt.
Right?
Ezekiel saw in vision beyond the sealing and the beginning of the judgment of the living,
Right.
a time in which men know how to use the sword of the Spirit.
Right.
At the beginning of the judgment of the living, then God's people will evidently receive a message of the power of the Holy Spirit. For example, Peter questioned Ananias and Sapphira who lied to the Holy Ghost.
Right.
This is a type of the judgment of the living.
Right. If Brother Hotep.
If Brother Hotep is this man in linen,
Right.
it is
if
time.
you then say, Brother Hotep is this man in linen, then you are saying Ezekiel 9 has got 5 angels instead of 6. But it is saying there are 6. And yet we see on Revelation 7, we see a 5th one still coming from the east. Knowing that Ezekiel 9 says there are 6, this is proof enough that there is still another one coming with Jesus' new name, coming with a seal to the people of God, right? But let's hear. Behold, go to Ezekiel chapter 16. How then do we connect it with these 2 sisters, Ahola, Aholiba, and Samaria and Sodom? This is a continuation of the judgment of the living. Now let's read from Ezekiel 16, verse 49 to 51.
Verse 49.
Right?
Behold, this was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom.
Right?
Pride.
We saw that we had divisions. One is Samaria, the other one was Sodom, and we knew who Sodom was. But now we are being told the iniquity of that sister called
Sodom.
Listen to what was it?
Pride.
Pride.
Fullness of bread.
Fullness of bread.
And abundance of idleness.
Now, which bread is this? When you go to Samaria, they will tell you that their last prophet is Sister White. Right? And Laodicea described exactly what they said. They say they don't need any more light. We are rich and increased with light, and we don't need anything. Now we go to Sodom. Sodom also, we are told in Ahola, this Aholiba, the sister to Ahola, had committed more whoredoms than Ahola. So what does Sodom say also? Sodom is saying, knowing that those who cannot live with this living spirit of prophets cannot survive, cannot be protected in the message, cannot even do anything without a living. They also, after the death of Viti Hotep, will also say, he is the last. No more. We'll wait for him in the grave to come back and in the kingdom. This is what fullness of bread. They are also fuller than the Laodicea. Because Laodicea says, we are rich and increased, we don't need any more. Now we also, after Viti Hotep has died, if we don't want to progress to Ben Roden, we also say, we have a richness of bread. We are, listen to what the Spirit of Prophecy is saying through the Bible.
Fullness of bread and
Right.
abundance of idleness was
Right.
in her midst and her daughters.
What is this idleness? Because Ben Roden has come now to implement the keeping of these feasts. So it's only those who are idle who don't want to keep the feast. They say, the feast will wait for the kingdom so that we start keeping them in the kingdom. Now this is what is called idleness, also full of bread. Now read on, let's hear.
Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and the needy, and they were haughty and committed abomination before me.
Right?
Therefore, I took them away as I saw good.
Right?
Neither hath Samaria committed half of thy sins, but thou hast multiplied thine abominations more than they, and hast justified thy sisters in all thine abominations which thou hast done.
Everywhere you just say anything to do with the feast. Oh, what if he's going to come? He said, what I've said, we are going to start in the feast. But the further light came with Ben Rodham to say, let's start implementing these feasts 3 times a year. But then there's fullness of bread and idleness and not even wanting to keep these feasts according per letter in Jerusalem at the door of the entrance. Right? And let's hear more in verse 55.
When thy sisters, Sodom and her daughters,
Ezekiel 16 verse 55. When thy sisters also,
Sodom and her daughters shall return to their former estate, and Samaria and her daughters shall return to their former estate, then thou and thy daughters shall return to your former estate.
right?
For thy sister Sodom was not mentioned by thy mouth in the day of thy pride.
So, in the day of thy pride, what mouth did God mention? Listen to Isaiah chapter 4. Which mouth was mentioned? God will not mention Samaria, will not mention Sodom, but which mouth did he mention in that day?
In that day, verse 2, shall the branch of the Lord be beautiful and glorious.
Verse 2 in Isaiah chapter 4, the mouth of God mentioned branch. Those who proceeded to having Jesus' new name on the 3rd seal, the mouth of God is mentioned that it will be the branch, which will be beautiful and glorious. And listen to what it will be. Listen, verse 2,
And in that
Isaiah
day-
4, verse 2, yeah.
Shall the branch of the Lord be beautiful and glorious,
Right?
and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely for them that are escaped of Israel.
Right. Let's hear from Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 15. It's being declared. God never said the Samaria will be beautiful and glorious, or Sodom will be beautiful and glorious. God mentioned only one name. The branch of the Lord shall be beautiful and glorious. Let's hear.
For thy sister Sodom
Right?
was not mentioned by thy mouth in the day of thy pride.
Right. So in the day when you are proud, no, we just want to wait for the prophets who are dead. No more light, no more light. God went to mention one name, the branch shall be beautiful and glorious. Right. Let's hear from Ezekiel chapter 37. There, go to the next paragraph. The stick rod.
The stick, road followers, has the name Judah written on it.
Right.
Mo-
Did you see the stick rod follower? Where is a name Judah written on it? Right? Let's hear. Where do we find that one? We go to Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 16. That's where we find where the name is written. Right? Let's hear.
Verse 16. Moreover, thou son of man,
Right?
take thee one stick and
One
write
stick?
upon it for Judah
Right. And what?
and for the children of Israel, his companions.
This is what we hear. So that's where it is mentioned for Judah. This stick is for Judah. It's for the rod. Right?
The names Jerusalem and Aholiba
Right?
are also written on the stick.
Right?
And the names of them were Aholah the elder and Aholiba her sister.
Right?
And they were mine.
Right.
And they,
This we are reading from Ezekiel chapter 23, verse 4. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 23 and the names.
and the names of them were Aholah the elder and Aholiba her sister.
Right?
And they were mine. And they bare sons and daughters.
Right?
Thus were their names. Samaria is Aholah, and Jerusalem is Aholiba.
So that's where we find Judah was belonging to Aholah. And when brother Hotef came, this is where he belonged to Judah in Jerusalem. Then it was then Aholah. Right? Let's go to the next verse, 23, Ezekiel 23, verse 11.
Verse 11.
Right?
And when her sister, Aholah's sister, Aholiba saw this,
Right?
she was more corrupt in her inordinate love than she, and in her whoredoms more than her sister in her whoredoms.
Right. So you see these two sisters have a problem. That's why God's name now went only to the branch. Did not go to Samaria, did not go to Sodom. And let's go to Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 46.
Verse 46. And thine elder sister is Samaria,
Right.
she and her daughters that dwell at thy left hand, and thy younger sister that dwelleth in thy right hand,
Right.
is Sodom and her daughters.
Right. Let's go again. Next, Samaria, L3, page 1, and space 23. Right.
Samaria prophesied in Baal.
Right. Let's hear in Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 13. What Samaria prophesied.
Verse 13.
What was the problem with Samaria?
And I have seen the folly in the prophets of Samaria.
What was the problem with these ministers of Jeroboam? These are Samaria. What is their problem?
They prophesied in Baal
Right.
and caused my people to err.
They caused people to err. Why? Because they prophesied, they kept Baalim. We know these are pagan feasts. So this is where God is saying their problem is Samaria. They cause my people to err. Right? And what?
The Lord saw in the prophets of Jerusalem
Right?
horrible things of wickedness.
This is what God was now prophesying the prophets of Jerusalem, seeing wicked things. What wicked things?
Horrible things, or horrible wickedness. And say they are unto him as Sodom and Gomorrah. I have seen also in the prophets of Jerusalem a horrible thing. They commit adultery and walk in lies. They strengthen also the hands of evildoers,
Right?
that none doth return from his wickedness.
Right?
They are full of them unto me as Sodom, and the
Right.
inhabitants thereof as Gomorrah.
It's Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 14. So now, when we read the Bible and understand why God is continuously, especially when you go to, I think it's Ezekiel chapter 8, where he's talking about, it's Jeremiah 8, or where he's talking about the abominations that they now worship Tammuz. Right? You found it. Jeremiah 8, I think Ezekiel 8, somewhere there. You find now where God is now saying the house of Judah. Now, what verse is that?
Ezekiel 8,
Ezekiel 8, yeah?
verse 14.
Verse 14. Let's hear what they do.
He said also unto me, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than they do, that they do.
Who are those? Start from the top. What verse is that?
Verse 11.
Right.
And there stood before them 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel.
Right.
And in the midst of them stood Jazaniah, the son of Stephen, with every man his censer in his hand.
Right.
And a thick cloud of incense went up. Then said he unto me,
Right.
Son of man,
Son of man.
hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the
So you
dark?
see what they were doing in Samaria.
In the dark.
This has always been a problem to God. They worship Baal. And listen to what exactly they will be doing in Samaria.
Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark? Every man in the chambers of his imagery.
Right?
For they say, The Lord sees us not.
They say God sees us not.
The Lord has forsaken the earth.
Right? Let's hear.
He said also unto me, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do.
What are they with these abominations?
Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's
This is
house,
what they do in Samaria. Listen to that.
which was toward the north.
Toward the north, yeah?
And behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz.
Right. No, you see, they turn their ears and their eyes not to know the dates of the tabernacle. But wait in December. Wait and see Samaria, what you do in December. They will know the date that Christmas comes on the 25th. This is what they do in Samaria. This is what they turn their eyes. They are now weeping for who was born on the 25th of December. It was Tammuz. Now they are weeping for Tammuz. Let's hear now. Let's hear.
Then said he unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man?
Have you seen what they do?
Turn thee yet again,
Right.
and thou shalt see greater abominations than these.
There are greater abominations than these. What is it?
And he brought me to the house of the inner court of the Lord's house.
Right.
And behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord,
Right.
between the porch and the altar,
Right.
were about 25 men,
Right.
with their backs toward the temple of the Lord.
What made them start all these abominations? Because they change God's dates. They don't keep the dates. They don't worship at the door of the tabernacle in Jerusalem. Now what comes there? They come now worshiping Baalim. all the dates of Baalim, they have them. See how active they will be. Just a few months from now, where it is. They will be very active, more than what they will be doing on the Feast of Tabernacle, even on their first dates. But they will be very active. Those that worship in Samaria, right? And what?
And he brought me into the house of the inner court of the Lord's house. And behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men,
Right.
with their backs toward the temple of the Lord, and their faces toward the east.
Right.
And they worshipped the sun toward the east.
Right.
Then he said unto me,
All that has to do with worshiping the sun. All that, what they do, they are worshiping the sun. All these pagan dates, all these prophets of Baal. This is what Elijah was against when he went to fight Ahab and take all his prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. This is what he was fighting. This comes from Samaria. Those who don't worship at the door of the sanctuary in Jerusalem. Right. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 14.
Jeremiah 23,
Yeah.
verse 14. I have seen also in the prophets of Jerusalem
Right.
a horrible thing.
Also, so he comes also to those in Jerusalem. What do?
A horrible thing.
A horrible thing.
They commit adultery
Right.
and walk in lies.
Right.
They strengthen also the hands of evildoers, that none doth return from his wickedness. They are all of them as unto me as Sodom, and the inhabitants thereof as Gomorrah.
Right. So once they rejected going further with the light of Ben Rodin, what they also started doing, exactly what Samaria was doing, exactly what Ahola was doing, they were even worse. They also, the prophets of Jerusalem. And then here, let's go to Jeremiah 23, verse 1 to 8. There.
Jeremiah 23,
Yeah, verse 1 to 8.
verse 1. Woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture,
Right.
saith the Lord.
Yeah.
Therefore, thus says the Lord God of Israel,
So
against
what
the
can
pastors.
they do when they are worshiping Baalim and you come there and want to introduce what we do when we are worshiping God in Jerusalem? They will scatter you. They will disfellowship you because that does not go together with the spirit which worships Baalim. Right?
Therefore, thus says the Lord God of Israel, against the pastors that feed my people. Ye have scattered my flock,
Right.
and driven them away, and have not visited them. Behold, I will sit upon you the evil of your doings, saith the Lord. And I will gather the remnant of thy flock, of my flock, out of all the countries.
So where
whither
do
I
we
have
find
driven them.
then the remnant? Those who have been scattered, those who have been chucked out, they are what God calls the remnant. I'll gather the remnant of my people. Those who have been scattered, because Samaria will not understand the spirit that comes from worshiping from the temple in Jerusalem. So they will be scattered, and God calls them the remnant. And he comes to take them. And what happens? What happens? When he
And
takes
I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries, whither I have driven them.
Right?
And will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and
Right.
increase.
So where are they now brought? They are brought now to be led by Elijah. And they start being fruitful. How fruitful? They start keeping all the feasts. Because the yardstick is Nahum 1 verse 15. We saw it. So, oh, Judah, what does he say to them? Nahum 1 verse 15.
Verse 15.
When he gathers them, what happens? Yeah, verse 15.
Behold upon the mountains
Now they meet Elijah. Behold upon the mountain.
the feet of him
The feet
that
of
bringeth
him.
good tidings,
That is bringing good tidings. What
that
are the
publisheth peace.
What are these good tidings of peace? Read on.
O Judah,
Oh, Judah,
keep thy solemn
keep
feasts,
the solemn feast. Those who
perform thy
worship,
vows,
Perform the vow.
for the wicked shall no more pass
the
through thee.
wicked will not come.
He is
Leave
utterly
the
cut
wicked
off.
with the Baalim. We leave all this, but those who want to be saved, the 144,000, will be found keeping the feast. That's why we find them on Mount Zion, standing on Mount Zion with the lamp. They have now come as Judah, keeping the vows, keeping the solemn feast. They are now in a perfect place. Then the latter rain will. Let's go to Jeremiah there, Jeremiah 23 verse 20. and see what God says. Where are they now?
Verse 20.
Verse 20.
The anger of the Lord shall not return
Right?
until he have executed and till he have performed the thoughts of his heart. In the latter days,
Right?
ye shall consider it
You
perfectly.
shall perfectly consider how people have been messing around with this calendar, how people have been messing around with these appointed times. In the latter days, he will consider it. And go to the last paragraph where he starts with Luke chapter 17, verse 26 to 32. That's our last. And as it was.
And as it was in the days of Noah,
Right?
so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat,
Right?
they drank,
They were eating.
they married.
What are they doing in Samaria? They're eating, they're drinking, they're also marrying. In Sodom, same thing. Right?
They were given in marriage
They are giving in marriage
until the day that Noah entered into the ark and the flood came.
Until the time the 5 slaughter weapons from these angels will come now to remove the wicked, the 2/3. 1/3 has been separated, like it was with the Israelites, out of Egypt, and only 2/3 were remaining. So let's hear.
Likewise also, it was in the days of Lot.
Likewise also in Sodom.
They did eat,
They did eat,
they drank,
they drank,
they bought, they sold, they
Right.
planted, they builded.
right?
But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven
Right.
and destroyed them all.
Right?
Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed.
Right?
In that day, he shall be upon the housetop.
Right?
Sorry, let me read that again. In that day, he which shall be upon the housetop,
Right?
and his stuff in his house,
Right.
let him not come down to take it away.
Right?
And he that is in the field, let him likewise not return back.
Right.
Remember Lot's wife.
Remember Lot's wife. This is our prayer. That when we are proceeding with the 5 angels' messages, we know exactly in details what is God has laid in prophets in Revelation chapter 7, in Ezekiel chapter 9, how these angels, 6 in Ezekiel 9, 4 in Revelation 7, and the 5th one coming. How do we understand? Where are we going? The 5th angel, when the 5th angel has proclaimed, then the 6th also continues. And the 6th bringing the 3 seals on the forehead. Wherever you are learning about the 3 seals, you are being prepared to meet Christ. You are being prepared for this purification of the church, of the judgment of the living, when these 5 angels' messages come in one by one to slaughter those without the mark in Ezekiel chapter 9. And God has given us sufficient knowledge for us to learn if we want to learn. May God bless you and me while we continue on our road to the kingdom, so that we can correctly understand all the prophecies He has written for us to know and fully equip us with the message of the kingdom, judgment of the living. May God bless the Sabbath.